Good morning, everybody. This is Wednesday morning. I have a lot of distractions that have distracted me yesterday. I was actually thinking of taking, let's see, today's Wednesday, right? Monday and Tuesday off from my job because I was doing work over the weekend and I was getting burnt out. I do have a process of a application in progress for District of Columbia. I did send some emails. I was complaining that I had made some phone calls in May and never heard back. Yeah, it was May of 2023, and I feel like a jerk for saying that because the person who I finally talked to, they didn't really quite know what I was talking about with naturopathic and this and that, but they said, this is the person you need to talk to. I'll forward you to them, but it'd be best to email them. They do better with email. My problem was I don't know where that piece of paper is for the conversation. What I really need to do is get out the notebooks again. I mean, I have a bunch of stuff on yellow tablets that I was trying to do and keep it here and then be able to tear the page out, file it or shred it or, leave it in the booklets. And I stopped that process. I was doing the 3 packs from Walmart. I keep having them. I'm like looking at my phone. I keep having them in my mail list, and I'm wondering. I'm like, should I start that again? But we do have the binders, the 3-ring, the spiral bound 3-ring binders that my partner bought a stack of because apparently he thought that I needed to. There's one thing my partner has continued to buy since I come to Maryland was either journals or notebooks or just that, and then I bought the yellow paper and the notebook paper, not the notebook, the yellow, the legal pad paper, the yellow, I've been buying the yellow printer paper, which I should have to move this one because it's propped up. I don't want it bent. I need to store it flat, right? Unless I want to. And then I have the regular, two sizes of white printer paper. So I think I might just go ahead. I did find one of those yellow notebooks. I might just go ahead and do the yellow again because that's my color. Sometimes I say, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to take a bunch of paper, poke holes in it, and staple it together and put it in a 3-ring binder. And like I keep saying I'm going to make certain things. I'm going to make this journal. I'm not going to buy a journal. I'm going to take a bunch of paper, staple it in the middle, and fold it over, and put me as journal on. Like all these different things that sometimes just got to get things going. I was going to not spend any money for accountability team. There's a bunch of stuff, bills still coming out of my into my credit card, and this is not something I'm looking forward to, but I have, what is that quote about seeing the trees for the forest? I can't even remember. It's like I want to hone in on these one little things that are disruptive, but if I can, when I just work on my business and do a good job with that, these things will be taken care of. I'm in recovery, so I took a look at recovery and keeping my program. I feel like these things, good or bad, will happen, whether I worry about them or not. And it doesn't mean neglect. If I need to do dishes, if I need to clean out the car, if I need to listen to my voice, if I need to take a nap, and I knew for a fact that I needed to take a sabbatical, and a lot of it again is thousands of dollars worth of billing claims that I need to resubmit and submit and just get that together, new claims that I have to come up with. It's not uncommon for me to see, I guess more for me now, it's recent to see my insurance online. I don't even know how I access that. I'm seeing, if I had an appointment January 26th, it wasn't that abnormal to see the bill sent in April 26th or something. So I realized that when somebody is mean to me, so thinking about billing and thinking about all of this, trying to balance in life, you hear in my voice that it's been a pretty rough couple days. I have the kids going back to school, all 4 of our kids. And combined, we have 4, and there's half of them are still at home, and half of them have gone away from home, far away, to be on the campus, and that's new-ish. From one of the younger ones, that's their second year, and from one of the older ones, it's their first year away from home. So what's in my gut is the okay. So I wanted to change the focus of where I was coming up with dealing with things with life, knowing in your gut that it doesn't matter if you take a sabbatical, if you use the word sabbatical or not. It's not a sabbatical. I'm not gonna be just like resting and like remodeling my kitchen. It's like I'm gonna be doing work. I'm gonna be doing these applications. I'm gonna be doing these grant things. I get a lot of things for bidding for grants or bidding on jobs on the East Coast and the West Coast, and I want to improve that. I want to be able to go in and do, so we were talking about this with notary, where they were going into high schools. Why were they doing the notary for high schools? I mean, was it college or high schools? I don't know if it was, there was some school event where they were having this orientation and they were hiring notaries to come in and do this paperwork. I think some of it was for field trips, or I don't even know. Was it so that you can give your parent permission? I don't even know. All I know is like you have a school, if you got a school with 1,000 students and someone's sitting at that table as a notary and they're going to be paid by the school for each notarial act, they could have 1,000 times $4 or $6. They could have, so they could, I swear that it went to 6. I never figured that out yet, guys. The notarial action in Maryland. Say they saw all 1,000 students and they got 6,000 plus their mileage to get there and get back home. Let's say they saw half of the students signed up for, and that was 500. They got a check for 3,000 plus the mileage. You know what I mean? That would be, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be an 8-hour event, maybe a 4-hour event. Maybe you're set up on a table and they're having an orientation in the small classroom and stuff in the auditorium, and you got like the yearbook club, and you got this club, and you got the work in the lunchroom club. You know what I mean? Like, so as a doctor, people could say, why don't you focus on this? Why don't you do this? You need to specialize. You need to do it. Naturopaths are not allowed to specialize. So at least that's what our lawyer teacher said. The fact that for me, being a naturopath is the specialty, because we're called specialists. That is the specialty. Before we use the word functional medicine, get to the root cause, all conditions, all ages. My actual specialty is a certification, a certificate, or another license attached to my first license, and that would be in natural childbirthing, out-of-hospital births, period. And that depends what state I'm in. If I'm licensed here, my jurisdiction, my scope is different. I specialize in, my specialty is being a naturopathic doctor or a naturopathic physician. If I want to advertise that I'm a GI, SIBO, functional medicine, or if I do pediatric, if I do mental health, so I'm going to do counseling for 50-minute visits, family and couples, and you know, if I wanted to only treat autism or ADHD, geriatrics, I could say that on my website and say, oh, you know, or I could limit it on insurance. I could limit it and say, are you accepting new patients? Are you able to see males, females? Are you able to see, is there an age group? Like when I do Medicaid stuff, it asks me, is there an age group that you could see or not see? Are you able to see people 65 plus? Are you able to see people under 18? A lot of people that I know do not see children. That's one of the most common, not the most common job I see advertised for naturopaths, I believe, is acupuncture naturopath degree, dual degree, and I actually was going to school for that, but I ended up doing the childbirthing. My children were born actually at home without assistance, and I had a passion for wanting to preserve the lives of people by being a well-trained, well-equipped, available provider who allows some sort of sliding scale, because there's a lot of people that will not be able to afford the doctors that they want. They cannot get a out-of-hospital birth worker to travel to their home because of the distance. They cannot get the things that they want. If it was me and if I was doing births in a certain radius, I feel like I would do that. travel. I'd be like, oh, I'm only taking 1 or 2 people a month, and that person's due. I'd be like, you got a guest room? Can you pay for me to be in an Airbnb? Like, that's what I would do, like, around their due date. But again, I did some births where they've come 4 weeks early. And I usually try to account for, if their due date was today, I would count for 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. And if you're doing birth work, even if you're doing birth work as a doula or a midwife and you're on call, not just a shift worker, that's not the only thing you really do. I mean, you're going to go to other people's births, but you're going to also have appointments. You're going to have prenatals and postpartums with other people and families. And if you're a naturopath, you're going to be able to see. You're not going to say 6 months is done, you're going to be done. Like, because the state laws are because of your training and the way that, like, in combination with the state rules and your training. My training taught every single naturopath how to deliver a baby. Now, that was on the fly, kind of like a first aid course, like, oh my gosh, you're on a ferry to an island in Washington State and someone's in labor, what do? You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. And if you're not set up, you don't do this, you don't do this. You wait for somebody who has ABC, sterile tools, or you know. And there's a lot that I took in my other trainings for 5 years after 5 years of like a year more of classes for childbirthing, and the thousands of hours in the hospital and out of hospital births, because I happened to be able to score a position with the perinatologist because I needed hours and I actually couldn't get with an Indeed. So for Washington State, I actually needed to be a lead on 25 births. And I think, does it say an MD or an ND? I don't think it said a certified nurse midwife or a what's the other, certified practical midwife. I didn't see that as a choice. So naturopathy, we could count. In Oregon, we can count NDs, MDs or DOs, and CPMs. So I don't even know what those meant. I didn't know what CPM, and I knew I had something about direct entry midwives, and then Washington State, one of the doctors I shadow, they have an LM, national boards, and they have the LM. Anyways, this is besides the point. I used the word score. I was going to be, so somebody was treating me like crap during an appointment, and I was spending the whole hour justifying this to a white person, a Caucasian looking person, so I don't want to just automatically judge somebody. And I was hoping secretly that I would get a person of color. They spent the first half an hour scrutinizing how confusing my website was, and I told them at least 3 times that I won a grant for a website in 2020 that fell apart, and then I received it again in 2021. I don't know what happened. Was it 2020? And then 2022, I gave them all the information. I gave them all the information in 2021, I think, and then they're like, you can't send us these different emails with the information, this and this, and it was a nightmare. So I'm not, forget about that website. I don't have access to that website. I don't have the login information. I need to have payments. I need to be able to put payments on there. Like as a store, I need to be able to put links. I need to be able to code the HTML. I don't have access to that. But the point is, I won this grant. It fell through multiple times. The agencies that were working on the websites were complete duds. Complete duds. And that's why I lost the grant in 2020. Because they someone said they were on vacation or something, and that this other person's going to contact me, and I briefly met someone else, and they're like, these people are going to take over, they're going to set up the next appointment. And weeks went by, and I was like, they're not setting up the appointment, make sure, go through my messages. And then I said, okay, I don't remember their names. And I was trying to go back through my old emails to figure out who these people are. And by the time I finally contacted someone, they said, your funds have been redistributed to somebody else. After I called the main company, I mean, everybody dropped the ball. These agencies that keep screwing up the website, they get their money. So if it was $10,000, they got paid. And I'm the one, and the company probably got COVID funds to distribute those. So I got nothing but a headache. And my name plastered all over a website that's got the word naturopath spelled wrong, among other things. Men health or man health or something like. It's just like written in really bad grammar. And I know that the guy that was working on it, English was not his first language. I don't care if English is not your first language, but get the grammar right. I have typos and mistakes. I took my glasses off and I spelled the word doula wrong when I texted my kid yesterday, and then I was feeling like an idiot because I didn't have my, and I made some, because it's like, I used to not wear glasses and I could see a lot better, and now without the glasses my vision is getting worse and worse. I'm really disappointed and saddened by that loss of ability of the muscle. So I had this score person I tried for like 7 years in Oregon to get a score. It's kind of like that 15 years I tried to get a counselor, and I ended up being matched with somebody during COVID, and they're like, why do you need my help? Why do you need my help? Like, am I even doing anything? Now, first of all, it was helping me to organize the clinic and the prioritizing the task. It was helping me to have accountability, to come back in 2 weeks and say, yes, I worked on this. And what's kind of sad is I might have said, oh my gosh, I have my appointment today or tomorrow, this morning, or I'm going to hurry up and do those 3 things I said I was going to do. Because I didn't do it, because I forgot, I didn't get out the phone, like, yeah, and I go get something to eat and start my other work, and get the phone ringing, and this and this, go for my walk, go check my mail, do this, something sells in the eBay store, this and this. And then, but if I didn't have an appointment, I wouldn't remember that I had those tasks, or I would have kept them on the back burner. But I wanted to tell the person that's an accountability team, hey, this is the progress, or hey, I didn't do it, but I want to really be serious to do it today. As soon as I get off here, I want to make this phone call today, right now. Like, and without accountability, I just let stuff slack. And I'm used to being a student for 17 plus years of post, what do you call it, post-secondary school? I don't even know how you call it. Not like, I've had 17 years of college and graduate school, where you did have deadlines, and you did have papers due, and you did have tests, and if the test is passed out to you, it doesn't matter to the teacher whether you studied or not, but it matters to your career whether you studied or not by that deadline. So, I think of some people that I heard talk about when they got out of the military after so many years, and they're like, I don't know how to dress. I'm coming to this new job. I don't know. Nobody's dictating what time I wake up, what I have to wear, how I have to speak, how I have to have my hair, and they're going decades under somebody else telling you what to do and paying you to do what they tell you to do, and having immersed yourself, so trained yourself during boot camp and all this stuff, depending what branch. I was reading something about the Marines, kind of breaking you down and building you to be the soldier that they want you to be. It could be different than with a civilian job, where you're bringing the best you to that job, and you're contributing for you, your mind, your diverse self, your individual traits, your creativity, So this appointment made me spend 2-3 hours fussing to my partner because I don't care to ask somebody about being a naturopathic physician. I've called and talked to other naturopaths, and I said, hey, I want to go out of town, and I was looking for someone to refer to that also sees infants. And I have yet to find, in this state, I've yet to find anyone that sees infants. I mean, there's some people that don't see men. They don't. I mean, that's their choice. I want to say in my education, I was well trained. I also want to say that when I went to classes, a lot of times, even with the attendance sheet, half the people didn't show up. So you can get the study guide and study the 25 main points for the 25 question test, and you can pass it with the A++ and get honors and graduate. But when you go to class, at least when I went to class, and I have plenty of stacks of books of cases, when I go to class, the teachers were doctors. I can think of only one, and that was biochemistry. That was a PhD doctor. But his cases were all, medical or human medicine biochemistry. So those pearls that you get that aren't in the notes or PowerPoint presentation, or are, hey, I had a patient, or hey, a student had a patient, or hey, I was doing rounds at a emergency department and this happened and nobody knew what it was, but I said, oh wait, check the ABC, kind of like a health episode, and you're like, oh my god, like no one else thought to do that, and yeah, we saved the patient's life because we did A, B, and C, and zebras and regular things. So my problem is I read mainstream kind of easy medicine. That's the stuff I didn't study for. What I studied was the super hard stuff. And then when I get super hard patients, it's not the medical condition that's hard, it's the lack of information or the lack of time if they're going to send a stack of documents a week after an appointment, and I'm supposed to sit there and be a detective to go through all that when I know for a fact I'm not getting paid for that, and I know for a fact that I already told them, you're getting the appointment, the onboarding, the physical, yearly physical, you're getting this, you need a separate appointment to do this brand new. Like if I go to my yearly with my primary care and I say I sprained my wrist, last time I did something like that, I couldn't make an appointment with reception. They said, oh, you already have an annual, just talk to your doctor then. Oh, you already have this, I'm not going to schedule you. She kept saying, I'm not going to schedule you. So I get to my appointment, guess what? I said, they told me I need to talk to you about my sprained wrist, or whatever it was, and it's my annual. And at the end, they said, okay, you need to go back to reception, and now you need to reschedule your annual. After I had the annual scheduled for a year. And so, the same lady, I don't even like this, like, she's like, you just had it. And she says, my doctor just told me to come here because he had to deal with the sprained wrist that I've been sitting here for 2 months trying to get an appointment. And then she'll go in the computer and, oh, there's a note. It looks like they changed it from an annual to just a sick visit. Oh, well, okay. They got to wait another 2 months for your annual. And it's like, now it's no longer annual. And that makes a difference for your insurance because you can have one annual per calendar year, and you get your annual labs and all that stuff that you want. And if you were to move or change providers and they push it back another 2 to 3 months, now you got to wait another 2 to 3 months to get on board with the new person. And there's deductibles and there's not really deductibles. You're supposed to be able to bill for an annual and focused sick visit I did that recently and I got denied and I got paid the lesser of the two. And I was pretty disappointed. Because you're supposed to be able to modifier 25. I think it was modifier 25, and I did modifier 25. I'm also finding that maybe I'm not getting the added time for visits when I do Z code as my first billing code. Oops. I was doing Z code as new patient visit. But you do Z code with well child and well adult and preventative medicine codes. So I just found some blunders. So I talked to this person, like, you're not making money. It's like, you know what? I didn't tell you how much I'm making. I don't even know myself. I get checks, I put them in my account, they go in the file account. When tax season comes up, I get ready to figure out how many thousands of dollars I need to pay the IRS. When I do my work, this person's scolding me for going back to February to redo some stuff. Guess what? I had people that I build through the program with the pre-filled information, building either I build my tax ID number of my clinic. The place I called said, you're in network with us under your social security number, or vice versa. I had this happen with another company that went through the same program, which pre-filled my provider information. So I just needed to resubmit those bills under the new codes, or under, leave everything the same except for the tax ID number. And it has a spot on the CMS form, 1500. On the bottom it has two squares checking, you check either SSN or I think it has it as EIN. And most of the time I check EIN if I'm doing the paper one. And if you're doing the Availity or the Office Ally, it will usually pre-fill it. Sometimes it's annoying because some things you can't adjust. You can't remove it. So that stuff from February is because I had to make the time after traveling and getting back into order and having all those appointments with the MRIs and the physical therapy and driving to Annapolis for different things, driving to College Park. I had to settle down long enough to get on the phone and bring out the patient chart and open up my notes and find the actual billing denial. Every single clinic has to do billing denials. Every single clinic does not get magically paid for everything they bill, even if the patient's fully insured and their claims specialists are the top of the top. Insurance plays a game where they want to find, their AI finds ways to deny claims and to deny pre-authorizations and to deny the payment of the higher fee. Every place. So when I go to SCORE through the SBA to get a mentor, I want to talk about what are some tips, affordable tips to make organizing. They could have said something simple like a file cabinet. I already done that. Some people would be like, have you ever used a computer? Like, I'm on a computer right now, fool. Like, well, you know that you can make file folders for each category. I've been making file folders before there was file folders. And someone's like, well, just pay the $60 a month. I wrote on this thing, affordable options, meaning I need to go back to my spreadsheets. Or I need to find a different program that has a desktop. I told this person yesterday, I spent the whole time justifying. I told this person yesterday, I used to be a programmer. And when they told us, they're like, oh, these balance, he's like, well, I didn't even know what profit and losses were when I was working for these companies. Like, fool, I know what profit, I got stacks of papers where I fill out forms for profit and loss and balance sheets and all this stuff. I'm not an idiot. I'm not, even if I was only wise in medicine, I'm a geek. So they used to tell us to make payroll, including taxes, payroll taxes. They would say, here's a list of 10 employees. Here's their hourly wage or salary rate, and here is the taxes that they need to pay, and here's the number of hours they worked. Okay, imagine it's year 2020, and you're given an assignment that you have 20 employees that you have to do in class, where you have to come out with what each check was going to be cut and have each in a category. What would you do? I've taken an Excel class. I don't even know if I took, yeah, I've taken an Excel class. Guess what? You type the stuff in and you do the phrase, I call it dot phrase, not dot phrase, but you do the calculation. This plus this plus this, which is in parentheses, this rate times 6% tax, punctuation, what you call it, these thingies equals this, and you want to have it, how do you want to have it? In like dollars and cents. And I told this guy yesterday, it's 100% making spreadsheets. You know, if I made my spreadsheets, my life would be a lot easier, but I've been slacking. I want accountability. I want to talk to someone, because people are always telling me to go pay $60 a month for QuickBooks. Guess what? I said, I used to write the programs from line 0 to 500. I don't think he had any idea. You ever go and study computer programming from the 1980s, where you had to say line 10, line 20, line this, go to this, go to this, go to this, where you made the program from line 0, and you sat in class, and you typed it. And after you typed it, then you ran your program. You had to push run, and when you run the program, then you enter it in. This is not point and click. This is not AI, where I just chatbot or whatever, scan something in and have I just scanned that in, I'm going to kick back and watch football while the computer does. It's like we had to actually write the program from line 0 to line 500 or whatever, and then we had to fill in the information. Then we had to print it up with some dot matrix freaking printer and turn that into the teacher. So why do I want to go pay $60 when I could probably figure out how to make a program and have the profits and loss and because I know Excel. My dad and my uncle are the people. The reason I'm on this computer today are people like that. Those kind of computer geeks that back in 1970 put together computers and put together programs and put together stuff so that Windows could make actual Windows and point and click and C++. You have Fortran, you have Basic A, you have Pascal. You have all these languages that my dad knows and taught in the university level. He was he taught at community college first and then junior colleges, but he self-taught a dozen or so computer language, and then he taught our gym teacher, and our gym teacher would teach us. I don't know if it was 2nd grade to 5th grade, but we did one of our gym periods. He put us on the computer, and we'd program line 10, line 20, line 30. And my dad refused to teach me. But that's where my brain is coming from. So if I'm going to sit, I could do an experiment. I'm only going to do women's health. I see on that national website that I'm not allowed. If I had to choose, I'd probably do that. That's the thing on my national website. I'm not allowed to do the women's health. What? This is not like North Korea. People what in the world are we talking? Why is homeopathy illegal in Pennsylvania? When I look on the Maryland website, it doesn't say you can't do women's health, and it doesn't say you can't do. It says you can do laboratory and medication or certain types of medication in orifices, and it lists, vaginal, anal, and it'll say that you can insert and you can also prescribe certain prescription birth control methods that need to be sized and placed inside of woman parts. So I know who's doing it. These people are not smart. I said, you can prescribe medication. No, you can't. It's illegal. Illegal. The scope of practice, when we look on the government of Maryland website, says what medications you could prescribe. It's not a lot, But I actually need to prescribe something right now. I need to get off of here. So what is the point of this rant? And when somebody talks to me and you're a doctor, what is that, a PhD? Do you go to your primary care physician or your, surgeon that you have to go get your hip surgery and say, oh, what's a doctor? Oh, that is PhD. I don't care. Congratulations. Dr. Jill Biden, let her be respected. She earned the title, doctor. But do you not realize that I went to medical school to be a doctor doing naturopathic medicine? I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a chiropractor. I wish that I had a PhD in Asian medicine and acupuncture, but I don't. I don't yet, I could say. But I see people that are not black and they get onto a group or they get onto a forum or a webinar and they'll say doctor this, doctor this, doctor this, and then they'll pull out their bio and they will be a PhD. But when I come in as a black woman, they call me by my first name. And they'll make a point to introduce a lighter skinned person as doctor, whatever levels. They know that these people should have respect because they earned that by doing the requirements to earn that title. And that's when I graduated as a doctor. We had a fluffy graduation hat instead of a square. So the point that I'm making is that I spent half an hour having someone tell me how bad my website is when I made that website as a student on a free Weebly account. Because our classmates said, one of our classmates sent the whole class his website. That he said, I went on Weebly, I've developed this website as a student, I'm making it a placeholder so that I have the name of my clinic that I want, and practice playing around with the website, and then I don't know when I did it, but I made the point to go to GoDaddy and claim, might have done it at the same time, claim that URL number back in like 2009 and 2010. My first couple years, my first 5 years of practice, my first 7 years of practice or whatever it was, I don't even know anymore, I had all illiterate patients. And I was pretty busy and I was working other jobs and I was having the insurance pay more and more and more, and then all of a sudden they'd stop paying me after being paid for 6 years for the same patients. Or a lot of people's Medicaid changed, so you can have Medicaid plan title company A, AAA insurance, like triple B insurance, triple C, and triple C was paying me. But then when they got their renewal, somebody changed them to Pacific A. Pacific A, or Plan A, wasn't paying me, and Plan A, maybe I could do a pre-authorization or have the primary care do a referral. But sometimes I was the primary care, so how do you do a referral for yourself? And that's illegal for them to discriminate because of your license type or your letters behind your name, but they're the government, they commit illegal activities, who's going to police them? So there's been a big battle about this discrimination and insurance, and that not only do they not insure, sometimes they do insure us, but they will insure us and pay a very, very low rate. So my problem is being a person that was homeless and single parent and poor and no support from anybody, including child support. I was the person that said, I'm going to accept insurance, why should this be a $3,000 visit appointment, cash only? Why should this type of medicine be inaccessible to a lot of groups of people? And that ability to want to do that puts me in the poorhouse myself, because I'm low volume. My thing is, you stand up for what you're doing. I made more money um, when I was sick at home with COVID and I didn't drive and I couldn't work. I hustled because I needed that money to pay rent. And I'm glad I did some stuff from home and some surveys and stuff. And I think I did one of my first telemedicine visits um, during COVID. When I was sick with COVID, I was supposed to schedule for a house call, and I actually didn't have a test kit, so I just erred on the side of caution to say I'm not going to come to your house. And it was an infant visit too, with other people in the house. So I said, I'm not coming to your house. I need to get a hold of some test kits or figure out how to get in. It was hard to get testing back then. And so after I tested, I came out positive. And anyways, I started doing surveys and stuff and different work from home. That's not really work. And I mean, it's work to get paid for the activity. And I felt like I was making more doing that. And my eBay store, I did not want my eBay store. I don't know if I shut it. I did not want anything to sell in the eBay store, so I didn't mess with the algorithm because I didn't want to send it out while I was sick. And if I wasn't touching stuff, so technically I could have maybe gowned up and wore the face mask and the gloves and made sure that it was in the room that I hadn't been in. But I didn't want to sell anything. I didn't sell anything. So I didn't want to ship anything. What's that? Germs. They said how long it lasts on plastic, cardboard. So I made more money doing surveys and working for myself as a doctor, working for my computer and my store than I did driving all over creation for the jobs. And I didn't want to believe that because I'm taught that people like me aren't able to figure out how to make a living on your own, and especially as a doctor, and that you're supposed to go work with your college bachelor's degree that they said was required and work for $12 an hour. And every one of your other coworkers that have the same job title, even some have the same, like I've got hired with the same job, with a job share, and I didn't see any of those people with the bachelor's degree. And most of them, half of them were getting paid twice as much per hour as I was. And they brought new people, underqualified, that were making twice as much per hour. And I raised concern about this because I didn't get the permanent job with all the benefits, the state or the county government benefits, retirement account, and health insurance. Pretty sure it's Blue Cross Blue Shield or Care First. I didn't get any holiday pay, nothing like that. And I raised concern, and the next time I saw the job posted, and they'd always raise it for the college kids and stuff. They try to recruit for summer work. They always raised the pay because no one was going to work for $12 or $14 an hour. So it's the only reason we got a significant raise. And they refused to give me a raise based on experience, time I worked there 2 years, bachelor's degree in agriculture and natural resource communications with the study certification for environmental sciences, which I didn't exactly complete. I probably completed it, but I don't have the certificate. I have another certificate in science, but agriculture and natural resources, including all the parks and recreation courses that I took, because I thought they looked cool. They gave me a list of classes I could take for the degree program, and that degree program was super, they had a lot of classes, let's just say. So that's why I was able to count my pre-med, biology, chemistry, and all that. They took that out the next time I saw the job posted, and then they already warned me that they were going to post a job for $17 an hour, $18 an hour. And I already gave my 2 weeks notice because they said they went to the bigger boss to ask if they could bump us up with the college education, the 2 years experience on the job, and the completion of the ranger school certification, which was a requirement. You know how sometimes you have a job like you need to take this course before you start here, or you need to take the course while you're here, you have so many months. It was COVID and the course was shut down, and they didn't really want to do, I think they were gonna, They asked the teacher to do an online course, but he didn't want an online course. So we didn't do it in 2020, but when I worked for the county, my boss said they're doing COVID vaccinations today, right now. Can you make it here in an hour? And I live like 40 minutes away. So I said, yeah. I think I was just wearing like a plain dress and like just like my house clothes. I just like threw my shoes on. My partner drove me. And I got there and they said, are you a healthcare provider? I said, yeah. Like, what type? A naturopath and a doula. And they actually turned some white people away, but I was there because my supervisor said that because I worked for the county that I was eligible because I was a first responder. I was like essential employee. I was a park ranger, which was an officer, parks officer, because I was writing tickets and stuff like that. So I was officer. I think I was officer number 11. Bye bye, officer. I was an officer, and if you have the ticket, that is a legal thing that I had the ability to write. And if they wanted to fight it, I would have had to go to court to be able to give the judge my side of the story. So whatever. I think they still put that as first responders, right? Because, I mean, technically, we're essential employees. If something happened, or if we got called in because there's a snowstorm and they need us to shovel, we were supposed to get called in to work. Or if the roads were bad, we were supposed to come in. If there's a disaster, if there was hurricane, tornado, so basically I was going to be prepared to take the four-wheel drive vehicle and be just driving through chaos. And what sucks is if I was not a contractual employee, the people that are regular employees get time and a half for getting called in during the times of like for instance, I'd always get calls that said that the county where I was going was closed because of weather conditions, and it would auto call my phone, and if you didn't push 1 or whatever, they'd keep calling you, and they'd send you texts and emails. But again, if I was an essential worker, sometimes my supervisor would say, hey, it's going to be a light day today, you're traveling from far away, it's your choice, like, to come in. So once in a while it was like that, especially if there was other people working. But a lot of times on Christmas and different holidays, people were already taking weeks off, and I would be the only eyes. I was supposed to be the eyes and ears of the county. That was scary, working $12 an hour and being out in the rural and in the water area by yourself with no access to any other people that you work with, no emergency number but 911, and very bad cell phone signal. So I was terrified, like, don't lock your keys in the car, and don't accidentally fall in the water, make sure your cell phone's always charged, even if you don't have signal, and make sure your walkie-talkie's charged. And it got to be, especially with some of the older men, saying, yeah, be careful, like, wear your walkie-talkie on you at all times. There is the panic button that you can push, but we weren't really trained that well on that to see if the dispatch would actually, and basically they were supposed to answer if you push that button, but there wasn't like emergency phones at the sites where you could push the button and talk to dispatch, which I think that would have been nice at a place where there's water, because I feel like, especially where there's no cell signal, there could be emergency or drowning incident or something. So even if I'm there as a ranger, I would need to call it in, right? So that was really hard to do, being harassed, being threatened, being like extremely flirted with as a ranger, and being surrounded, having men surrounding your truck, and not having automatic locks and not having automatic windows. So I do a lot of jobs, as you guys know. Most people do not watch my videos all the way through where I give the pearls. What I think is happening with a lot of cases, including with my counselors, everybody, when they find out that I also do doula, which I had never gotten paid for doula until a year ago, they always say, oh, so you're a doula. Like, they want to hear the lowest job when my career is as a doctor, and in most states a physician. And I practice medicine, and I order labs, and I deliver babies, and I do well exams, and I got all kinds of scales in here to measure infants and newborns, and I have everything set up to do house calls. So everything, my exam table folds up. I had a brand new, we just went all out and got a brand new medical bags, 2 medical bags, and so one's an infant one, like a newborn bag, and one, like a birth bag, I should say, and the other one is my everyday carried medical bag, and I could put the paperwork in there. I can't really put my laptop in there, but I could put my tablet in there, and then I have the scrubs and my regular professional clothing and professional shoes. And that's about how I've been doing it. That's how I've been doing it since I was still a student. Because I did a lot of community clinics where you have to go and set up the clinic and set up the medications and bring all your medical equipment. We rarely, if ever, had like when you go to your doctor and they have the blood pressure cuff and the ophthalmoscope and otoscope on the wall where they just pull it out. You know, it's already plugged in or charged, and they have all the lights and stuff. So I'm carrying around headlamps, and the scale is not right there in the hallway. I'm carrying scales in with me in a reusable grocery bag. You know what I mean? I got growth charts, or measure people's height. That I have all portable. So that's the type of person. Where I'm in a jurisdiction where I can do minor surgery, I would carry around surgery, sutures, and sterile equipment. But I'm not really doing that right now. I used to probably carry that because the birth workers, just in case they didn't have sutures. But I realized that there's sutures are the bigger needles for depending on where the tear is. But versus doing wound care, regular everyday wound care, not obstetrics. So that's what I set myself up with. That's what I specialized my core clinic shifts in medical school as: minor surgery, homeopathy. I took a year in physical medicine. Most people I know didn't like homeopathy and they didn't like physical medicine. It was hard to get a lot of experience in the surgery, but I did the surgery, and then I'm also a birth worker, so I have to be up on my skills in suturing. And then for the first several months, all I saw was adolescents, and then it became younger children, and then it became adults and geriatrics. And then when I lost my job that I had, part-time job, I ended up not being able to find a job, and I got the 2-year direct patient care in geriatrics. And during the direct patient care, we got a lot of access to information about the patients and their meds and their special meal, like if they have hypertension, they can not supposed to have salt, all these different things. So we were allowed to help them. We weren't administering meds, definitely weren't doing IVs and stuff, because it was still a volunteer position, not a medical physician. Like if I got an independent contractor where I could go in to a nursing home or something and do something like wound care or massage or toenail clip, different things like that. There's some ideas depending on what you can and cannot do, but we could say, hey, they say here that you could use a reminder to take your medications, and the nurses would already have the little cups on their little bedside table. So we were okay to encourage. We were allowed to do massage, just of hands. So that was decent. I mean, I'm grateful for that. Obviously, we could talk and read to them and help them read and order their food for them, either choose the food or help them to choose based on the menu. Entertainment, getting them. I don't think they let us do it alone. I'm pretty sure they didn't. But having somebody put them in wheelchairs so that we could go on walks, and so we were allowed to push them inside or out to the balcony. I watched people get dialysis. I've gone to the cancer wards. I've gone to the isolation. And what's that one? High pressure. Was it pressurized rooms for infectious disease? And then while I was doing that, I was attending births. And they said I could only shadow one doctor, so I had to cut off the perinatology births and the C-sections and only do out-of-hospital births, which 20% of the time turned into in-hospital births, so we still went to the hospital until the baby was born and just stayed indefinitely. Like if it took 3 hours or 12 hours, we stayed at the hospital. And my specialty is I'm the village doctor. I don't care if it's telemedicine. I don't care if you're in an urban, rural. As long as I'm licensed in your state, my job is to do the medicine that I'm trained to do, and to not be afraid to say, I'm going to refer you out. I have never referred anybody out. A lot of times people they do have primary care, and they will go back and say, oh, naturopath said to change my diet, is this okay? Or naturopath says I make sure to get these labs, or I don't have lab results, can you send them to that doctor? You have permission to talk to that doctor. You know what I mean? But with my scope in Oregon, I was doing the physical medicine and the GI, and a lot of my patients for a while, they didn't want labs, they didn't want people complaining about getting GI testing and all this stuff. So I lost touch with some of my accounts with certain, like SpectraCell and that micronutrient testing and stuff, because I didn't have a lot of people interested, and I was getting kits, and the kits were expiring, and they don't like sending out a bunch of materials when you don't even send a patient. That, I mean, it's kind of sad, but and also, I mean, I lose the account, so I need to set that up again, because now I have people calling specifically for these specialized tests, and the patient population before were online reading, got Dr. Google's advice on what you should do, so that becomes a challenge because a lot of people are already trying a lot of things that I mentioned, but what I think for me is they're not using high quality products, or they're not taking them correctly, or they could be overdoing it, and then it's hard to tell if something's working or not, especially if you're not following up on the clinical and the laboratory findings to see the progress, if they're improving or not, depending on the condition. So I had, my pearl is that I'm fuming mad that I know for a fact that I had run a website in 2020 and then I let mine go. I just took out stuff that was too personal or too student-like, because I was a student, and I took out the words, I tried to take out the word physician and stuff, because it's I have a multi-state clinic, and this person questioned that. We were to be here for 6 years, we've been here for 4, and so I'm moving back to Oregon. Why close down my clinic? Why sell my medical equipment when I only have 2 more years left? And when in Oregon, I do patient visits for Oregon and Washington. And I'm going to be doing births. I keep setting up to do births, but then I prioritize spending time with my family. So when I'm there longer, I'll do more. Like, why shut down your clinic if you go there and work? It'd be like if you own a store and you hire someone to sell the shoes out of your store, and someone's like, well, you're 2,000 miles away. I was like, you know what? I make money because I sell stuff, and I hire people to work under me, or it's an online store. You don't have to be anywhere. You just have to have the merchandise, whether that's your skills as a doctor, doula, midwife, a notary, a loan signing agent, whether I'm selling stickers, brick and mortar, online, conferences. There's corporate health where you can give speeches and run CLIA wave testing during the visit, and say, have them sign a disclaimer, there's no medical advice, but this is just information, and hand out flyers and stuff that they can take to their doctor. That kind of stuff I've looked into, and I want to set myself up and make sure, call my insurance company to make sure I can do these events. where you can make $6,000 in half a day and different things. It's not always about the money, but that costs money to set up and have tables and have flyers and pay for your gas and of course pay to keep the insurance and licensing. Because the more you do and the more time you spend, the more you pay in your insurance. So I'm mad at everybody right now, at least that has to do with my business. And I'm mad at this person from yesterday because I feel like when they saw that I was a black woman, that I was a legit doctor, that they did not want to believe it. And what I wanted was, I was working with someone else on making a pamphlet and they were going to look at my rough drafts and see, how it looked, how clear the information was. But when I go on all the people that I know and like as naturopathic doctors, and I go on their website and they have this huge list of conditions they treat and these specialty procedures, platelet-rich, plasma, whatever, PRP, and this and that, cranial sacral. Oh, I'm also an acupuncture. Oh, I'm also a dentist. Oh, my naturopath was a dentist. And she'd go from the dental area of her office and then she'd take that dental stuff off, put on a white coat, and she'd still have that little magnifying glass on her forehead, and she'd come in and do naturopathic, get on the computer and talk to me like I talk to my patients. I like that, and I like complicated people. I like somebody who I go to their home clinic and they got jars of herbs all over their patio table, and that they're going to yoga retreats all the time and traveling around the world, going to homeopathy things. But a lot of the people that belittle me, they do have white skin. They hear that I'm a doctor. They hear that I struggled and worked at Pizza Hut and was a single mom living low income housing that cost $2,000 a month and this and this and this. And they're saying, this person shouldn't be a doctor. But they're not looking at my bank account. They're not looking at my number one thing is my foundation, between my foundation and recovery and my higher power. When you work your butt off and you tuck away money and you invest money and you continue to sell stuff, I could just give all this stuff away to the Goodwill, let them make money. But when I sell it, then that's money in my account. So when I write my checks, the checks don't bounce. And there's nothing wrong with becoming organized and honing in on your career that's making you your $100 an hour, your $35 an hour, instead of your 6 cents that you made from this dividend or from this $3 you made from selling the necklace on eBay. But the way I see it, especially when I got sick and when I got injured, there was no help from the churches I've gone to, the car accident, the injuries, the illnesses, the struggles with my kids. There was no help from family members. There was no help from my kid's dad. I lost my job, and the school system my kids went to refused to get me on the Thanksgiving food list. They refused. They said, oh yeah, we signed up a bunch of other families, but I don't even know. Someone has the paperwork. I don't feel like dealing with it. That guy named Richley or whatever his name was, in Clackamas, Webber County, he wouldn't help. And I was so broke and so poor, and I lost a job at the beginning of October, I think, right before my birthday, or the end of September. And it was going into November. November, December was always hard for me. And I lost my job because the lady, Tammy, who works there, lied about everybody. And she tried to tell everyone I didn't know how to draw blood. We did 2 years of blood draw classes in medical school, and then I did more. I did a year. I think we did a partial year in IV therapy, but I did like 2 or 3 IV therapy shifts. And then being a midwife, naturopath obstetrician, you need to know. You draw your own blood. You just use the centrifuge. You call LabCorp and have them pick up the samples. You do the urine analysis, the dipstick, the CLIA-weight. You do the send out for pathology. If they have bacteria or suspected UTI, you do the group B, strep, and other bacterial swabs. Now I can do self-collect STI testing and bacterial testing, oral swab, nasal swabs, pediatric draws, heel poke, I call it heel poke, but blood spot test, saliva testing, SIBO and breath testing, all that stuff I know while making slides to make for the microscope and to store that. All those things I did at school, and then I did it in real life on clinic shifts, and then I did it working for the lab for at least 2 years. I think I worked for the naturopathic lab on stool testing and getting back the samples, infectious disease, universal precautions, rapid HIV, all that stuff, guys. I'm not stupid. People think I'm stupid and I act stupid because I have ADHD and PTSD. My family's members are known to be mad geniuses, and we act like airheads because I think we're thinking too much. And we struggle with life due to racism, sizeism, sexism, curly hairism, no makeupism, all these things. And I'm going to get a house on the hill with my sailboat down yonder in a deep enough freaking creek that I can have a freaking sailboat and fish without having a bunch of catfish grab my line. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have more than one of them. Not because I'm going to be prideful and say I'm on top of the hill, but I don't want to be washed out when the sea rises. And I'm still going to have my sailboat because it's going to float up. So my kids can inherit a non-underwater home. They're going to be allowed to own land and have a submarine house. That's another story. But I feel like once the sea moves up, you might lose your property line. I want a house up on the hill, but on the water. Just like I grew up in. Not just like it, but we grew up like that. And we had our little sailboat, and we had our little Boston whaler, and little canoe, and, I had my little dog, and my little forest with the wild blueberries, with the land that my parents purchased lots during auctions and all kind of stuff. And I'm going to be out of debt. I'll sign up for government stuff. I grew up in a government and military family. I'm realizing even my grandma was a VA nurse and all this. My cousin, military, history veteran, all this stuff, and my mom was a civil servant, and she was also a school teacher. And it's hard to think of the government. There's a lot of families working for the government. There's school districts, there's local governments, park rangers, postal workers, kind of semi-government, census workers. People have benefits. People have certain insurance plans that cover me, and I want to be able to do events because I understand military. I wanted to do military doula. They wouldn't let me sign up with my credentials. So all these different things, guys. I have a lot of paperwork to do. I'm making this really long video because I'm wanting people to know that I've had people break me down, and I should never, ever. If the conversation's headed this way, I'm going to say, hey, I have something to do right now. And really, my phone rang too, but it was pocket dial. I'll say, I have a phone call to make, or this is an important call, I had to take it. And that would have been the truth if I would have done that yesterday. I don't know if anyone else is dealing with this. Because I'm so complicated, people don't understand me. People that watch my videos are not understanding me. The universe and God tells me, my inner gut says multiple streams of income. When I've seen a bunch of YouTubers talk about their eBay stores, I do this eBay store, this is how I make money. I made over $2 million net or something last year. I bought a big house, I have a swimming pool, in-ground pool, I have all these dogs, I go on vacation, I'm driving a BMW, this and this and this and this, 2 BMWs, this and this and this and this, and then you see them on a video 2 years later saying, I don't just sell on eBay, I also sell courses, I also do one-on-one consulting, I also have a cell phone business that I have, employee that works at the flea market, or whatever. They'll add in all these different things. I also sell systems where they sell a spreadsheet, or they sell a packet of information for resellers, or they're selling bulk items to resellers. They're flipping stuff. They could be flipping property. They could have Airbnbs. And they go for years saying, hey, this is how you do it. And everyone's like, let's do it. And you're like, how are they making money? There's always the question of, the more you tell people how to resell, the more competition there is and the less we make. Us original people. Like, there's always an original person. And that's the truth. And I even question it. How is he even making money when those pants that he was selling for $25, everybody and their brothers going to the bins getting those pants, and everyone's starting to sell for $8 because they don't care. And then you find out, oh yeah, I have this whole list of this and these investments, and I do public speaking at high schools about, how to be a business owner, and that's an option, that's not just a profession, all these different things. What if you're not good in school and it's hard for you to go even for business? What can you do? What alternative can you do? You could transferable skills that you could take to your self-employment to a job if you needed a job, so that if you did have to close up, or you had health reasons or different financial, cost of doing business got so high, the brick and mortar got so high, the price of the insurance to cover the job and the state licenses for the LLCs cost too much. And maybe you want to get a job, like say, oh, you have self-employment. Well, we don't have anything for you. But if you have some certification, I'm just throwing that out. I'm making stuff up. This is how I think. So what I think is, people will belittle people because they're professionals. I don't need someone to tell me how to do the doctorate, because my specialty is me. That is my specialty, to be super complex. My friend said doing bursts is an idiotic thing. You need a 9-to-5 job in your office. You don't need to be on call 365, 24/7. Yes, I do, because that's what I'm paying extra tens of thousands of dollars to do. Because then it becomes a niche, because no one else wants to do it. You've got a couple dozen people doing it across the United States. But what I wanted the SBA to help with business was tricks and tips. How to stay motivated. Making your to-do list. When is it time to delegate responsibility? And if you're low income like me, what can I do? Could I do 1 hour a month of virtual assistant and a phone service? And maybe set up an AI phone service. I mean, a simple answering machine. I don't even really set up something that's like being a business number, and then I could choose to have it come to my cell phone if I'm not sleeping or not at a birth or not in another appointment, so that, following the things that my business teachers taught. So I always think of SBA, Small Business Association, as business and not as career advice, but as, someone could talk about, it's like, oh, you formed an LLC, oh, you formed a foreign entity, oh, you have telling somebody that they're stupid for having an office a mile from their house in another state. Whenever I'm in that state, you see patients. The telehealth rules are better now, and we all know in Oregon there was always this back and forth between, you're supposed to see your patients once a year in person to do the physical exams, and the rest could be virtual visits. So why close the office? That's hard to find a space that's cheap, that's a professional building with a professional mailbox, and I can go there 11 months a year, 1 day a year, 0 days a year, 3 weeks a year, and I can see all my patients in that office. And then when I'm gone, if the insurance allows, the state allows me to do virtual, then I continue to have those patients. And those are long-term patients. Why shut off my clinic where the only long-term patients I have? Because the ones in Maryland, especially on the Eastern Shore, have not rehired me or hired me at all. So I keep telling myself, you know in your gut what works for you. You know in your gut how you make money. And you know when that number exponentially rises. And for me, it's never been because somebody gave me advice. A professional or someone who's supposed to be in a business relationship. I've always gotten horrible advice. my partner, my kids, my people that know how my brain works, their suggestions work, and I'm going to follow my higher power, my gut, and just be me and not feel like that I have to spend 10 hours a day justifying what my title is on my license that's addressing me as a doctor with letters behind my name. It's nobody's business, but if you want to get treatment from me, it becomes your business. Peace, guys. It's tea time.